Hi, I'm Pastor Mira, and this is Sermon in 3 Minutes. We started a new sermon series this past Sunday called Building Your Faith. We're looking at, as we build out here at Spring Garden Campus, what does it look like in our own lives to build our faith? You know, here at CUMC, we talk about worship plus 3. Worship consistently, plus an opportunity each year to serve, to grow, and to connect. Ways that we believe we can build our faith as a church and as individuals. But Pastor Jim and I also know that our experiences build upon and help us grow our faith. This week we talked about pain and grief, how experiences of pain and grief can help us to build our faith. Have you ever asked if only that loved one hadn't died? If only the answer in the test result hadn't been cancer? If only she would have passed that exam? If only that relationship would have went differently? You know, all of us ask that question. Many times, sometimes for even years, in our head and in our hearts. Well, in the Gospel of John, there's a story in John chapter 11 where Mary and Martha are basically saying, if only Jesus. See, their brother Lazarus had been dead for 4 days, and then Jesus comes into town to visit. And Martha runs to him and says, Lord, if only you had been here. Her pain and grief. She knew who Jesus was. She knew of Jesus' power, his connection with God. And yet, Jesus arrived 2 days after their local Jewish friends, and their brother Lazarus had been dead. Well, instead of dwelling on the past, Jesus tried to take Mary and Martha and point their eyes to think about something different. And Jesus responds, I am the resurrection and I am the life. You know, in Jewish thought at that time, that meant, the resurrection would come in future years when Jesus would come back to earth. But Jesus was saying to Mary and Martha, no, it can happen now. When someone dies, resurrection can happen instantly. They can go and live with Jesus. Can you feel the difference? If you move from asking if only that result had been different, to if Jesus is the Son of God, what does that mean for our lives? If Jesus is the Messiah, if resurrection can happen now. You know, in my own life, when I've changed from asking if only to if Jesus, how I feel has changed in my heart and has changed how I live my life. You know, also in this story, we learned that Jesus took time to sit and weep. He sat with Mary and Martha as they were at the tomb, weeping over their brother's death. And that's part of what I think we also can learn from this story, is that sometimes we are called to be the people sitting beside those who are grieving, who are mourning in pain and loss. Jesus did it. It's something we can do. And if you've ever been on the receiving end, sometimes that's all that's needed, is someone to sit beside you. As you think about building your faith, I hope you'll think about moving from asking if only to asking if Jesus. If Jesus is part of our lives, how does it change what you think and how you feel? Thanks for tuning in. Have a great week and see you next week here at Sermon in 3 Minutes.